We have multiple updates to discuss on today's episode of the Rams Digest, from talking about Sean McVay highlighting a particular player on defense looking pretty good, to Jalen Ramsey updates, as well as what the Rams can expect from their offensive line, all on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, press that subscribe button now, as roughly 69.5% of you guys are watching the videos, but you're still not subscribed to the channel. Do me the favor, if you're already watching the videos, it doesn't cost you a thing, might as well press that subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. Happy Father's Day to everyone out there who celebrates. Really hope you guys are having a great and safe day out there. I know Los Angeles, if you are in the Los Angeles area, a lot of protests going on, things of that nature. Hope everyone's staying safe out there, and really just, hope your well-being is all taken care of, and you guys are enjoying some Rams content here in the safety of your homes or wherever you guys are on this beautiful Father's Day. First things first, we're going to talk about OTA updates. We are discussing a couple of interesting updates here. I do want to highlight Cameron DeSilva from the Rams Wire, bringing these to the table for us. We're hearing some stories here and there from a couple particular areas. He discusses 7 updates. We're going to pull about 2 or 3 of them and discuss really what the important keys are, takeaways from the Rams OTAs thus far this season. Emmanuel Forbes impressing, for example. Puka Nacua improving. We'll probably skip that update because we know Puka Nacua needs to improve. We're hoping he improves. We expect him to improve, as well as Devontae Adams, his connection with Matthew Stafford. Those things, like, we know those things are kind of taking place right now. We're hoping those things are automatic and going to happen for the Rams. But a couple of interesting things he did point out that I did want to highlight and bring to the table for you all here on this episode of the Rams Digest. Like, for example, Nate Landman's communication has caught Chris Shula's eye. I do want to remind you all, many of you guys were, when we made the story saying the Rams make a sneaky good signing at linebacker, many people looked at me and the comments and you said, sneaky good, he's going to be a back-end piece, he's not going to be that good, this is an overreaction to a nothing signing. I said, look, the Rams are not in a position to say, let's just get a linebacker to be our 6th linebacker right now. That's not the position the Rams are in at the linebacker position. They need help at the linebacker position, especially the interior of the linebacker room. And we were talking about Nate Landman looking pretty good. A guy I said, hey, he might be a sneaky signing. No one should be surprised if Landman winds up being a starting linebacker for the Rams in week 1, because they don't have that many linebackers, right? And so he may have to be your starter, and therefore he may make some really big plays for you. I think with Atlanta, the Falcons last year, he showed that he can get some hard hits, he can force some fumbles, make some big plays on the defense, and that is why I think Nate Landman could be a really key piece for the Rams and their defense this year. He was one of their free agent additions this offseason, coming over from the Falcons, where he played for Jimmy Lake and Raheem Morris. Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula has been impressed by his communication in the middle of the defense, so perhaps he's someone who could be a candidate to wear the green dot as a signal caller, right? The green dot is someone who goes out there, they're calling all the plays for the defense. They're kind of that quarterback of the defense, right? Really making sure everyone's in the right places, knowing what they're supposed to do and their responsibilities on particular plays, right, out there on defense. Nate Landman has been excellent and with his communication on the second level. We had heard great things about him from Atlanta. That's what Chris Shula had to say about him. So just kind of an interesting little note, small story out of OTAs. Nothing really crazy there. I just want to kind of highlight, hey, Nate Landman, a guy I said could be a sneaky good signing. He's looking good thus far. We're also talking about a couple other updates still from this article from Cameron DeSilva. He says Emmanuel Forbes has bulked up and stood out. Sean McVay said this week that Forbes is bulking up. Obviously, one of his kind of key question marks is his thin, slim build. Is that going to be good enough in the NFL? It hasn't been good enough yet thus far, which is a good sign for a young cornerback who came into the NFL with concerns about his weight and overall frame. It's still early in the offseason because the pads haven't even come on yet and the players still aren't hitting, but he's made a strong impression on the coaching staff. Again, obviously a very thin build of a guy. You want him to bulk up. Hey, Sean McVay saying he looks like he is bulking up. We'll pull up a full Sean McVay quote on Emmanuel Forbes specifically. He says, I've really been pleased with him. There's been a lot of positive guys that have really stood out or really kind of taken their game to another level. I'm looking forward to seeing once we put the pads on and getting into some the preseason games. Let's continue to apply that, but been really pleased with Emmanuel, and he's done a great job. So obviously, Sean McVay, PC answer saying, look, a lot of guys have been doing really good. It is so early. We're in OTAs. We're having good practices. They're making some good having some good moments in practice, but ultimately none of that means anything if you're not showing us and applying that when it comes to preseason, when it comes to training camp, when the pads are on, right? None of that really matters until then. So shout out to Sean McVay for being that kind of PC kind of answer, but also, hey, Emmanuel Forbes, he's doing a great job, and we want to make sure we give him a shout out. That's, I think, good for his confidence moving forward, and good for us, our confidence as fans in him on the defense side of the ball. Maybe Emmanuel Forbes, after they just released Darion Kendrick, maybe Emmanuel Forbes is getting more and more into that position where he may be one of the starting cornerbacks for you on the outside. Moving on to the last little update from OTAs, we are talking about no movement on the Jalen Ramsey front, right? I just talked about how they traded let go of Darion Kendrick, right? Guy who's coming off ACL tear, guy we hoped could be a decent piece for the Rams on defense. Didn't really pan out early in his NFL career, had the ACL tear. That's not good, so they let him go and move on. Clearly not looking too great coming back from that ACL tear. But here we're talking about Jalen Ramsey, right? Is Emmanuel Forbes playing really well enough to where they let go of Darion Kendrick because Emmanuel Forbes is the guy? Or letting go of Darion Kendrick because they want Jalen Ramsey in there, right? I know Josh Feinhurst talked about that in his last episode on the Rams Digest. But Ramsey remains available for trade, hasn't yet been moved by the Dolphins. The Rams have been one of those teams frequently linked to Ramsey, but it doesn't seem like they're especially motivated to get a deal done. McVay provided an update this week and said the Rams haven't had a lot of those discussions about Ramsey, suggesting maybe their interest has cooled. McVay has also expressed confidence in the cornerbacks the Rams already have, so he seems comfortable with their current group. So obviously Sean McVay is going to say that regardless of if they want Jalen Ramsey or not. Plus, in this moment in time, you don't want the Dolphins to even think that you're interested that much, because then, hey, come trade for him if you really want him. Ultimately, the Rams say, hey, we don't even want him anymore. We like the guys we have now. So that way, if the Dolphins go ahead and release him, that's when you have those conversations about, hey, how confident are we really in these guys in the current cornerback room? Can we improve on that by adding Jalen Ramsey? That's a question for Sean McVay, a question for Chris Shula, a question for Les Snead to get together and answer those questions. That's it for OTA updates. Again, Puka Nacua looking better. Devontae Adams also doing his thing on and off the field as a leader. Puka says, Devontae's looking good and all those good things. So other things that are in the article that we didn't talk about, but ultimately overall, so a lot of positives coming out of OTAs thus far. No pads yet, no preseason yet. We got a long way to go before the NFL season, but things are looking pretty solid right now, generally speaking, for the Rams. Something that's not too solid, right? There's more questions than answers when we're talking about the offensive line of the Los Angeles Rams this upcoming season. That is kind of a concern of mine. We talked about the Alaric Jackson story a couple episodes ago. If you missed it, we talked about them signing, right? DJ Humphries, right? A big signing for the Rams to come in and replace potentially Alaric Jackson, the left tackle position. But ultimately, I think the reason why this is I want to talk about this for a second is because we discussed it last episode, but ultimately, I don't think we really highlighted how concerning these question marks are for the Rams, right? Not only is their left tackle a question mark now because Alaric Jackson's dealing with blood clots again, we're wishing him nothing but the best, but their right tackle as well, Rob Havenstein, currently at this point in time had 2 shoulder surgeries. He's not 100% healthy in the right side either. Is he expected to be healthy? Sure, but as minicamp nears, Rams hold more questions than answers in offensive line status. A flurry of moves to bolster the Rams' offensive line has concerned Rams fans over likelihood of another slow start. And so that is kind of the concern, as I'm already spoiling some more of the story later. But that's kind of the concern that I have, right? Is you're talking about the left tackle now being a question mark. Right? Your starting left tackle may not be there, most likely not going to be there in week 1. Your right tackle, Rob Havenstein, is an older veteran, and we talked about finding the future right tackle of the Rams all offseason in the draft, in free agency, because the Rams ultimately need to look at the future of the right tackle. Rob Havenstein's getting older. Is he going to be healthy all year? That is a question. And now he's not healthy right now. He's dealing with 2 shoulder surgeries right now, maybe ready for week 1, but still kind of a question mark at the right tackle. Now your center position, Bo Limmer, really, really good as a late round rookie. Really good in that sense, not good enough for what the Rams need, if that makes sense. So I don't want to really crap on Bo Limmer. I think he's a good player who was actually really good in his rookie year, but at the same time, not good, not what the Rams need. Is Coleman Shelton really going to be that much better? I think he's going to be a better center. I think he has experience with Matthew Stafford and this Rams offense, but ultimately, Is Coleman Shelton really going to be that solid starter for you? Has he even won the job? Is Bo Limmer battling for that position? A lot of question marks at the left tackle, center, and now right tackle. If Alaric Jackson can't stay healthy for half the season, if Rob Havenstein deals with injuries, lingering shoulder problems throughout the rest of the year, is David Quisenberry and DJ Humphries enough? is Bo Limmer or Coleman Shelton enough at center to hold up as an offensive line versus some great defenses, versus obviously some playoff matchups as well, right? We want the Rams to go to the Super Bowl this year. Is this offensive line good enough? That is a question mark. I feel they have enough talent. I think they did a good job of replacing some of the depth here, but it's definitely concerning. I think the offense has a lot more questions because that offensive line is kind of looking a little bit mix and match already before week 1 has even started. We'll have to wait and see as we approach preseason and week 1, of course, but ultimately just something I wanted to bring and acknowledge to the table. Maybe the Rams should do some shuffling around with the offensive line to make sure they are ready to go for a Super Bowl run this upcoming season. Moving on, last but not least, Trivia of the Day, my favorite part of the episode where I ask a trivia question. You give your trivia guesses down below in the comment section. Whether you're right or whether you're wrong, we give you a shout out on the next episode. We had this last episode, we had the question that was posed here. Which state has produced more Hall of Famers than any other state? We did give you guys some multiple choice options. Let me see if I can pull that up for you right now, as this always takes me a second because sometimes I lose it. All right, which state has produced more Hall of Famers than any other state? That was the question we posed. The multiple choice options were A, California, B, Ohio, C, Pennsylvania, or D, Texas. We had a couple of you guys playing along at home. We appreciate you guys always for playing along here in the comment section. I want to give a special shout out to all these folks who played along. It was the Real J Will saying, gotta be Texas. Glider says, I'm going with Cali. Brian B says, Texas is my guess, even though I'm from California. And then Floyd says, I'll go with the state that has the largest population since the law of averages would be on their side, California. I would love to say it was California. I thought California was in the mix. I thought Texas was also in the mix as either one or the other. The correct answer for which state has produced more Pro Football Hall of Famers than any other state, it is Pennsylvania. C. Pretty surprising, but obviously we're talking about a very specific group of people that are Hall of Famers. I think that's kind of really a specific group to get into. To get into the Hall of Fame is so difficult. They happen to be all from Pennsylvania, apparently, or a majority from Pennsylvania, as opposed to California, Ohio, and Texas. Thank you guys all for playing along at home. I appreciate you guys for guessing with the trivia of the day. If you guys want to play along with today's trivia of the day, in just a second, I'll give you a question. You give your guesses, and we'll give you a shout out whether you're right or whether you're wrong. Here is the multiple choice options for today's episode. The trivia of the day for today's episode. Which MLB team selected both John Elway and Dan Marino in the 1979 draft? As I'm trying to pull up the multiple choice options for you all. Which team selected both John Elway and Dan Marino in the 1979 amateur draft? The multiple choice options for you are here. Was it A, the New York Yankees? Is it B, the Kansas City Royals? Is it C, the Pittsburgh Pirates? Or is it D, the Los Angeles Dodgers? Which MLB team selected both John Elway and Dan Marino in the 1979 amateur draft? That's going to do it for me on today's episode. Give your guesses down below in the comments section. Whether you're right, whether you're wrong, we give you a shout out on the next one. That's going to do it for me. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And I'm out.